And we are live. Okay, welcome to the MCT show season 2, episode 3. Today we have the pleasure to have a special guest that I know from the level 3 certification in Vienna last year, Andres Santamaria from Munich. And it's a great pleasure to have you on the show, Andres.
Thank you for having me. I'm also very excited to be able to talk with you for an hour.
That's cool. That's cool. You're doing a lot
Mm.
of great things for MovNat and the community, the MCT community. So it's I mean it's the minimum we can do to invite you and to give you this platform, this opportunity to talk and not only about you but about all the projects you are doing. So you are a certified trainer. You are active, like we posted on Facebook. You're an active member of MovNat Munchen, MovNat
Yeah,
Munich in
yeah,
Germany. You're
yeah,
from Colombia, right?
yeah, yeah. I was
And
born in Bogota.
born in Bogota, right?
Hmm.
And you're also the leader of the MCT forum that has been recently created.
Yeah,
So, Andres, we'll have a lot of things to discuss, but what we like to do when we start the show is to be able to know you better, okay, to know your story, where you're from. So you already said that you were born in Bogota and you are currently in Germany. So that's not common, and it's an interesting
yeah,
story. I think we would like to hear. So tell us a bit about your journey from Colombia to Germany.
yeah. Sure. I mean, the first time that I went away from my country, so I was born in Bogota, in Colombia, and I was there in a German school. So that's an important bit of information for why I ended up in Germany. But before that, I went to Australia and I studied economics in Australia, and I lived there for 4 years. So it started early with me to just traveling around and being independent and getting to know other cultures. And after being in Colombia, after my studies, I worked for a bit. I decided to do a master's degree here in Germany. So because I went to a German school, I wanted to train the language and get to know the culture a bit better. And I did that. I came here. I was in Stuttgart, and after that, I sort of got a job, and everything developed so fast. And that was 12 years ago. That was a very yeah. It was a coincidence at the end that I ended up in Munich, but through the through the German in school and the fact that I knew the language and everything, I had a bit of a more access to the country. And I'm actually my grandpa was also from he had to fled after the Second World War, and he was we don't know exactly where, but he was Germany here to the north. We lost that type of thing, so I also have a bit of history in my family with the country.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
why Stuttgart?
Yeah, Stuttgart at the end was the university that I was able to access to, and it was a nice university that I really wanted to go in Esslingen, actually close to Stuttgart. And Germany has a very different way of dealing with the costs of the education, right? So if you at that time it was all subsidized by the government, so it was for me a very clear choice because it had so many advantages, right? That was
Mhm.
a that was an easy decision to make.
How hard was the transition from Colombia to Australia to Europe?
Yeah, well, to Australia, it was hard because I was 18 and I was like really like pampered at home, right? So I didn't really had the tools that I needed. I now realize that later. So I was thrown into hot water, right? I was the flight took 21 hours or something like that. You know, I was able to watch like four different films and stuff like that. And
Wow.
then I got there and I had to do everything, right? Like from getting an apartment to just like full on adulthood when I was 18. And that was hard, but the culture was a bit closer to what I knew. So the integration with the culture was not that difficult in comparison to Germany, because Germans are just very different. We Latinos and Germans, we're just like really, we can safely say that we're in opposite sort of poles. And that took a while. That took a while, I have to say. My wife is also from Colombia. She came with me around the same time when I came to study. And at the end, we realized, you end up with a lot of Latinos and Spanish people and Italian people in your friends circles, because we're different. It's just a different perspective, right?
Is that still the case in Munich? Do you still hang out with a lot of Latinos?
Yeah, we still hang a lot. There's a small community that we have already built, but I have to say also that I've Germanized a lot. For example, every time I go back to Colombia, before I was going every year there, I realized this, for example, because you would go and say, all right, let's meet some friends. Friday we go out, we meet at 7:30. Fine. I came in there and I knew that everybody was going to be late, so I said, all right, I'm gonna be there 7:45. Right. Still, like 45 minutes later, the first one comes in and you're just sitting there. You're like, wow, I have changed. This was my life before, but now I'm like, like the whole scheduling thing and the whole structuring of the time. That's something that you pick up really fast because it's just very efficient.
Did you get stressed out when your friends were late? Where
Yeah,
you become
yeah,
European this way?
yeah. Yeah, I was like, hey, but I mean, you can't play with my time like this. I mean, we're just here waiting for an hour. What do you think? And they were all like, they don't really get it because I mean, if I was maybe some a foreigner or something like that, they would go and say, all right, okay, well, let's do it for him, right? But I was Colombian as well, so it was like, yeah, he should know, right? But
So
no,
you
you changed.
so you got the tranquilo, like
Sí, 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 calma,
moment,
calma.
calma, calma.
Calma. Yeah,
And,
yeah.
so what is
Mm.
your language at home? I guess it's Spanish or
Yeah, we speak Spanish. We speak Spanish, and we speak Spanish aus Bogota from the 1990s to 2000. We stayed in that bubble because it was just my wife and me, and we have our closest friends are also from Bogota. So the accent, the words we use, and the funny thing is that my son also speaks like that. So he's carrying that legacy now.
so you mean all the vocabulary from the 90s? There is no update.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no
you
update.
you're an IT guy. You don't do a refresh on the software.
Well, I did economics. I studied economics, right? So, but it was like I mean, I just don't have that much more contact with to know what how they talk right now. I've been 12 years in Germany now, so I've grown a bit apart from the whole thing.
But your kids, because I understand you have
Mm.
3 children.
Yeah, I have 3 kids.
So do they
Yeah,
go
that
to
was
the German school?
yeah. I mean, the my son Lucas is 5, so he's gonna start school next year. But he's in the kindergarten in the I don't know, but yeah, you know what I mean. And I have twins, and they're 14 months old. So, but they are also going to go at least for the first phase of their lives to a German school.
So do you see already Lucas being more used to Spanish or German? Is he okay in German?
Yeah, no, his German is amazing. The pronunciation at the beginning, we were having some we didn't know, right? So we were thinking like, all right, um, if we always speak to him in Spanish, is he going to learn German? But that was like, I mean, retrospective, we were makes no sense. As soon as they go into the kindergarten, they start, picking it up for all the other kids, and he can speak perfectly now. And the good thing is because we both of them speak Spanish, because usually you have like a mixture of like a German woman and a Colombian man or whatever, and they speak then both languages, right? And with us, it's only Spanish. So we realized with time that the challenge was going to be for him to retain the Spanish and not the learning of the German language.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah,
interesting. I know well
yeah,
this mix of
mm,
cultures, and this is where I mean now we are in this pandemic and lockdowns and closing the borders and all those problems. But
yeah,
we live in a world, and
yeah,
it's very interesting to mix the culture for the kids, to be
yeah,
able to be adaptable. This is one of the MovNat principles, to be
yeah,
adaptable, and not only
yeah,
for movement but for all the things in society. And language is a very very important teacher.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
always get that. I always get that because I travel around Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and people always like, when are you gonna guys get the website in different languages, and
Mm.
the translations,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is what we are working on. But obviously, that well, because you are
Mm. Mm.
working with MovNat in English and translating a lot of stuff in German.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
do you see some big requests from the Spanish world, the Hispanohablantes, like, for that?
Well, I mean, I'm actually closer to the German market, right? To Europe. What I've noticed is that in terms of the adoption of these new old uh, yeah, practices and stuff like that, that Colombia is a bit maybe still getting it right. So it's coming. I mean, there's the niche, of course, and I know there's a couple of trainers, MCT trainers, and Danny has done some events in Colombia as well. So the thing is there, but for sure, if we were able to speak in their language, I mean, from just knowing how many people can speak English in Colombia, I mean, there's a lot of them, but the majority doesn't speak English, right? Or not at the level where you would just go and inform yourself about movement practices or stuff like that, you know. So I think it would give you a direct access to the material, right? If it's in your original language.
Mhm. So obviously, yeah, you are very good in languages. You speak perfect English. You're German, Spanish. You traveled a lot. At which point of your life did you discover MovNat? How did it happen?
Yeah. Yeah, that was I was I mean, as I told you, I was in a different direction, right? I was doing this corporate life. I know you had that too as well. And I was studying I studied economics. I did an MBA. I was doing this controlling finance. I was in that direction. And then one day, my boss organized a seminar, for a 1 day seminar for the correct way of sitting in the office, right? And the trainer was Bernd. So he came in that day, and in the first 20 minutes or something like that, just blew me away. You know, at the time I was doing like 4 days a week training, like for normal. That was a lot, so to say. And I was doing swimming, and I was climbing and doing Krav Maga, and so in my head I was a fit person, right? I was in good shape, right? And then he Bernd came in and said like, right, let's do a squat. Nowhere near the squat, like really awkward, like I couldn't even come in the position, right? And then he was like, all right, let's do some shoulder mobility stuff. Very bad mobility in the shoulders. And then I mean, he in 10 minutes he pointed out so many things that struck like such a point for me, because I was like, how can I spend so much time of my life training and my body can't do these simple things? Then I must be doing something wrong, kind of thing, right? So that was the first time that I got in contact with MovNat. After that, he told me he was doing some trainings in the parks here in Munich. So I went to one of those trainings. I think it was like a Monday, and I was Tuesday on his training. And as soon as I started, I just fell in love with the concept. You know, it was just, without even knowing it, exactly the answer that I was looking for to that physical sustainability and the whole thing, right? So being practical, right? Doing things that you can use right away, so to say. And that was how I started with MoveNet. And that was like around maybe, yeah, like 7 years ago or something like that. 6 years ago now, something like that.
Wow, that's a very interesting story, because you talk about a moment that basically changed your life, when you were in this room, in this office. Were you the only one to have your mind blown away, or did you discuss this with your colleagues?
Nah,
How did that happen?
we were like, I was at the beginning when I was in Siemens, the division. I was one of the younger persons there, and not everybody was because for me it moved a bit the floor, because I was like expecting to be able to do. But for the other ones, it was like they knew that they couldn't kind of thing. So a squat is not something that you do all the time. and he was talking about barefoot, walking barefoot, and changing the shoes, and also how your clothes are restricting you, right? Because that was the case as well. I went to sit down in the floor and do this exercise here, and I had a shirt, and I mean, you can't you can't move like that, but at least not with the. I mean, right now there's some other options, but then it was not like that. And then I started having the discussion afterwards, and not everybody got it. No, not everybody was the same. Like, oh, this is so life changing kind of thing. They were more like, well, is it really like that? Do we really need to change all the shoes and be so different kind of thing? So I think it was a good also. And later in my whole journey, I've noticed that there's a resistance there because we're so used to what is normal today, right? And in that normal, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know why we went that way, right? So shoes especially, like, collapsing your feet, and giving taking away so much functionality and so much freedom, but then complaining about, like, oh, my back hurts, or something is wrong in my body, the structure is like, yeah, I mean, it all plays together kind of thing.
So obviously, if your manager was organizing this, it's because
Yeah,
they believe there is a need. They
yeah,
want, first of all, they want the workforce to be healthy enough
yeah,
to keep working. You know what I mean? To keep
yeah, yeah,
sitting in front of the computer without being on, away on sick leave or stuff like that.
yeah.
Did you discuss with your manager after that, or?
Yeah, I mean, the my manager at that time was, he was also he was an athlete as well. He was running marathons, and he was really good and really fast. So I think he had a lot of knowledge in the whole topic. What they do was like more like this active rest, because it was funny as well. Bern came in, and that was the name of the seminar kind of thing. Like, what's the correct way of sitting kind of thing. And the first thing that Bern said was like, "There's no way that 8 hours of sitting is going to be correct." It's just like, bam. And with that sentence, you could already see people going like in the defensive, like, all right, so what are we gonna learn here? And the other people, me included, going like, huh, he has a point. So I mean, it has developed a lot. I was able to also, they push a lot of stuff, and they push, for example, those type of events where you come in and you run together, or they have these active poses where somebody comes in and they move you a bit and stuff like that. But I mean, the barefoot part, the structural part, the how the body has to work as a unit, and not specifically those things are slowly coming in, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need those meetings are good, but you need a follow up.
Mm,
And MovNat can go in many directions, and we have so many MCTs. You know that well, with very different profiles.
yeah.
But this office, this corporate topic is recurring now. I have
Hmm.
people specializing in this. How do you see MovNat helping? Because you have been in this world, and I've been too. And as you mentioned, this is very difficult to convince people. I think Burns' approach was a shocking one. Like, there
Yeah,
is no way 8 hours is good for you. And you attract the attention, you raise the attention of people this way, but it doesn't mean you convinced everybody.
yeah,
The
that was
only
really
way,
good.
yeah, the only way I think you can convince a lot of people is when their pain is decreasing, when they feel
Yeah,
a bit more free in their body by doing things, and but they don't want to be seen as the weirdo, to
yeah,
be sitting on the ground and stuff like that. So what are your ideas in this topic to help MCTs who may have this population, this target?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you really have to build a bridge with them. I mean, it sounds like we are in different dimensions, and somehow it is kind of like that, because there's just some concepts that they don't. I mean, in my opinion, for example, in the whole movement aspect, the fact that you don't have to, the fact that if you train once a week after sitting down a lot during the whole week, and then you go in that day and do 120%, that's for me a recipe for an injury. You can't ask that from the tissue in your body. If you never give it that you suddenly can go all so strong, right? So it is a bit of a difficult market in our experience as well with MovNat Munich. I mean, I'm one of the founders of MovNat Munich. Like Bernd founded the company, and now we have two other partners, more Marble, also an MCT trainer, and myself. And we've been going into this market and just spreading the word and doing the whole thing. And we have realized really that there's one point where people have to take the decision for themselves, like they had some sort of episode, or they have chronic pain, or they came to a point where they had to sort of like the traditional wisdom, and go to the doctor, and he wants to operate your back or stuff like that. They have to have that sort of encounter before they're open to the whole thing. But once they're open, they go straight into MovNat, because MovNat is such a natural, such a big fundament, right? So what I would say would be like, try to build this bridge, right? Try to build this bridge. Try to come in with the alternatives, with the spaces in between, instead of yeah, putting one day one big thing, try to break it down, and it's just a constant dialogue until you get them. But at the end, I mean, if you want to have a good sustainable movement practice, you have to do it often, and you have to do it a lot, and you have to change your lifestyle. You can't just for the sake of not being the widow, for example, jeopardize, for example, the health of your spine or something like this, right?
So yeah, so this is not a sport. This is a lifestyle, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly the point. You have to build it up, and you have to keep at it. It rewards you beautifully. I mean, you yourself also know you have so many skills, and you've developed so many skills as well, that is just such a great adventure to be on, right? Once, for me, on the other side, as somebody that was in that life, and somebody that was with this posture here, and with the lack of mobility in my hips, and with my ankles, and all these things, and now suddenly having the freedom of movement that I have today, when I think back, it's like, if you want to go into this journey, it's absolutely worth it. It's the best decision that you're gonna make. But it's not gonna be something that happens overnight, and you are most likely going to have to first try to fix a lot of stuff that you have. But at least it was in my case. I had like 10 years of bad movement habits that I'm now trying to put together again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a hmm, go ahead.
No, 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 I'm just saying that the kids are the great examples of humans that are not broken and that can show us
Yeah.
how to move. And our population, the MovNat population we have is usually, like you said, broken people, whether they had an accident, whether they were broken by life, by sitting too much, mentally affected by a sedentary lifestyle, all these kind of hurdles that then people do their research. Either the deep, and they go down, or they do a research, and luckily they find MovNat, or just going in nature and walking and reconnecting with who they are. So
Yeah.
good. So yeah, you were in this office, you had these big moments, and then what did you do to get more involved with your movement practice and the community?
Yeah, well, the first part, I mean, you were talking about the broken people part, and I was myself in that. I started having anxiety and panic attacks when I was like around that age. And so I went in full diving, because of course the medical advice was like nonsense, right? I couldn't really start anything with the having to start inhalating stuff or pills. So I was like, this cannot be, this is just not for me. So I went head on into the whole thing. I learned MovNat. I learned other parts of ancestral practices, cold exposure, breathing practices, the nutrition aspect, a huge aspect that I was also had to, I don't know how much podcasts and how many books I read to be able to sort of find something that could work for me, kind of thing. And and that was the moment it started going in that direction. And I had this like parallel life with my corporate job, where I would be like everybody else in the job kind of thing, you know, like sitting down and doing, but then on the side going barefoot and climbing trees and doing all these things. I started training with Bernd, working with him, and I eventually started substituting and also doing training. So I started being a MovNat trainer on the side kind of thing. And eventually I went for a certification. I became a level 2 in the 5 days program, which is such a nice experience as well, to move so much for so many days. You know, it like really breaks your life a bit in two, right? And it all developed until the point around 2 years ago when I decided to quit my job and go fully into my own projects kind of thing. And being able to have the life that I have now, where I think I have habits that allow my body to maintain sustainability, for example, or nature contact, all the aspects that you were touching upon. And that's kind of how the whole MovNat Munich thing started to develop as well.
You mentioned panic attacks, and I know a lot of people have more and more, these kind of these crises, these panic attacks due to stress, due to multitasking. Can you describe what happened and how often, and then how did you heal, and now how is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the panic attacks, they started at a point where I was trying to control a lot of the stuff that was happening around me, and I was, like you said, always in stress and stuff like that. And I would be, for example, just sitting watching TV, and suddenly my heart will start pumping like crazy, and I wouldn't be able to sleep until like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and everything would go like like a type of tunnel vision, like very sympatheticus, right? So very fight or flight, and without any apparent reason. That was where I had the most panic, so to say. And I went to the doctor, and he said, yeah, you have allergic asthma. Because I was also feeling like a lack of that I couldn't breathe kind of thing. I was choking kind of thing, and it started like that. And at the beginning, I was like, all right. So the doctor told me to use these two things and to get some pills. And 1 month came by, and it was still the same. And they would come in at random times. And I was feeling like I started to feel like I started to shrink a bit, and eventually the first thing, because it is also, I don't, in my opinion at least, is something that I haven't been able to just, it doesn't disappear from your life, you just learn how to control it kind of thing. That was my experience. And the first thing that started helping me in that journey was contact with nature, was really going outside and having times where you would rest, but not taking a rest like in the old sense. Like, for example, I'm gonna be working in front of a computer the whole day, and then I'm gonna rest by sitting in my sofa and watching Netflix. Well, I'm not really resting. I'm doing the same that I was doing before, but with a different objective kind of thing, right? But when you go outside that time and it's cold, or maybe the elements are there, or there's a bit of risk involved, you with Burn, we're always like jumps or balancing at height, or I mean, not crazy stuff, but enough that you feel it kind of thing. Those things would balance me out a bit. And out of those, I started to get the clues. Okay, so I need to counterbalance those moments of work and watching into the future and controlling and being corporate and everything, right? With all those other times where I'm really just relaxing and present and being in nature. Basically, that was the first thing.
Wow, yeah. So basically, you wanted to balance out your stress from work, and you wanted to be in control of everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned two good things, like balancing. When you balance at height, you need to be really focused.
Yeah.
You cannot think about anything else. You have to be in the moment, and
Yeah.
that avoids this smartphone mindset with so many apps running at the same time. You are running only one particular type of focus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jumping as well, and a lot of natural movement skills require your full focus, basically.
Yeah.
uh, but did it I guess that's a kind of a short-term solution because on the moment you feel good, but then you were coming back to the stress. So what
Yeah.
did you do in this case?
Yeah, no, I mean, it came back at the end. I mean, when I started to have that, I had to just confront the fact that the life that I was living was not the life that I wanted to live, kind of thing. And I think in my case, that distance was the one really creating the stress that I was feeling. So as soon as I started going in that direction and I started to plan how I could leave my company and have a chance to build my own stuff, and with those things the process started to unfold. But the real game changer for me afterwards, because it was like it kept going like this, but it was not at a point where I would go and I would tell you I'm free of this, nothing happens now. So it wasn't like that. They would still come, and I will still have them, but with less frequency, but they will still be there. It was until I started practicing breathing practices with the Wim Hof method, and I became also a Wim Hof instructor. When I started to have control of my breath, I could say, okay, now I have this. Now I know how to do this because now I can control this. Now I know that even if it comes, I can already feel it that it's coming. I have so many tools and techniques where I can just bring it back down. Worst case scenario, I just jump into a ice freezing thing, and that gives me enough shock to come down again. Even though that happened once. I had to come outside and in the snow, and that was the only time where I was like, all right, I need help. The cold was the one that was able to stop that negative pattern kind of thing. But since then, it was like the breathing aspect of it is really yeah, the breathing aspect of it has given me so much control. That's really the my son is pushing there against the wall. I'm sorry about the noise.
No problem. That's life too, right? So
Yeah.
it, I really like this that you can develop this topic because I'm sure a lot of people live the same situation, the same experiences. Many people start, with corporate lives and they want to build something, because we are told to be financially independent and build a career. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we are in our 20s, in our 30s. And usually the people we see coming at MovNat are in their 40s or 50s. Once they are, worn out and burned out. Um, yeah. So this is very problematic for a lot of people, and that's good that you can share your experience. I would say that a lot of people think that they need to rest, and usually the doctors, they say that. They're like, you need to
Mhm.
rest. But what does it mean to rest? And I'm glad
Yeah.
you mentioned the work plus Netflix or work plus doing something else, because
Mhm.
now I would like if you can, to talk about MovNat Munich and what we have done. I'm sure and I know it's a lot of work. It doesn't mean that you're spending less energy, but you're spending more energy in what you believe in and what makes you feel good. So we are not 90-year-olds, we are still in perfect physical condition at 40, 50, 60,
Mm.
and we can do a lot of work, but we need to make some work that makes sense for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the key. I mean, the balance. I mean, and now with the knowledge that I have now, so what I notice is like you have these sympathicus and parasympathicus systems in your body, right? And it really comes down to how much are you really going to parasympathicus, right? Or are you really going into both spectrums of it, or are you always staying in one of them? And the corporate life is always having you at the a bit of the right side of the sympathicus, right? You are always slightly on the edge. You're always slightly on command, waiting for something to happen, or having the plans to. But so you don't really come down and relax, because also it's really hard to relax if you watch blue light until 11 o'clock or to fall asleep, right? So physically is not also the best way of coming down, but it's also the mind that is always there, right? So what is something that can really counter that ability that we have? And it's not only an ability that we have, but it's an ability that we get trained at, right? So throughout my whole schooling, the only thing that I was getting trained at is being good at using my brain, right? So I have to be able to schedule stuff and look into the future and think abstract thoughts and all these things, right? That's the only thing that you really get schooled on. And it just happens to be that it started going too much into that direction, right? And for me, it was even worse because I mean, that was my tool. That was the way I was succeeding in life, was because of the way my mind was working and how I could show up in work and stuff like that. And when I started getting this panic attack, it was exactly that tool that started sort of rebelling against me, right? And I was like, so I didn't know what else I could do. Like I couldn't use the tool that I usually have to solve problems because the tool was the problem. And on retrospective, to go back that, once you go out into other activities that really either push you into really sympatheticus, right? Like we were talking about, go and balance at 2 meters height, and your world can become just that, right? Only the thing that you're walking upon, or try to do a precision jumping, and with all these things happening around. I mean, those moments of presence, of real focus in the moment and not on the future or on the past, like an ice bath, right? You go into an ice bath for 2 minutes, and trust me, you are there 2 minutes. You're not thinking about what am I going to do tomorrow, or my boss is going to tell me this. No, you're just there surviving, right? And those type of experiences really do provide a counterbalance to that other life. And like you said, now I mean, I have MovNat Munich is one of the companies that I founded, but as my strategy to be able to provide for myself, I founded two other companies. So I'm actually working in I have three companies, so to say, that I'm working on. Have a family with my three kids, so I'm actually working a lot more than I was working before. But it's just a totally different type of work. And one of those things of work is MovNat, where I'm with people, where I'm moving, where I'm outside, I'm experiencing this normal challenge of nature kind of thing, right? So my lifestyle is pretty packed, but is balanced in a way
Yeah.
until now,
So
right? So
no. That's very interesting. I was processing what you were saying.
mm,
You know, when you mentioned that you had those panic attacks, and doctors just try to fix you to keep going. You know, and even the tricky thing is that our families, you know, family members, even the people who love us, they would only see good external signs. You know, they would see you with a nice white shirt, nice haircut, good car, good money, good house, kids, and everything looks perfect. You know, but inside, you know, you're not feeling so great. You are always on the edge, like you said, and it takes a number of years. Some people are more resilient, so some people will last 30, 40 years like this, you know. Some people
yep,
may
yep,
last a couple of years only. But when people say, oh, you have panic attacks, yeah, you need to relax, you need to rest, take more days off, but they don't really question the root cause, you know, the what is
yep,
the root cause of this. They just want you to keep going, because we are like wired, we are programmed to understand that this is the only life we can get, you know, because it's safe on multiple sides, but we don't question the mental aspect of it. You agree?
yeah, yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I mean, it's really hard if you want to get out of this type of life, because everything in the system. Sorry, my son just came in as well. Give me a second. So I lost the thread now. Yeah, so the that life, right? So when as soon as you want to get out of it, right, you start being the funny one, right? The one that sits on the floor, the one that eats funny. Oh, how come you're not eating anymore? Yeah, what is intermittent fasting? Why would you fast? You know what? Or all those concepts that are actually common sense, right? If you look at from a biological perspective, or from a, you know, the way we are built as humans. But we have created such a culture where the habits that we have in that culture are not really good for us, right? Like the no sleep, go hard, don't move, these type of things, right? And the problem with that is that you can, like you said, there's people that can sustain it, right? And people that just are not really in that direction, and then it's really hard and you are left without options. On the other side, we have a lot of information today. We have internet, we have so many other outlets, and you just have to scratch the surface a bit, and boom, starts all these things coming, right? MovNat, and then you have the importance of sleep and nutrition with I don't know, like intermittent fasting, Dave Asprey, bulletproof coffee. I don't know, all these new things that are there that are really making a change. And so it's hard. It's hard to take the chance. It's hard to take the seat. It's not something that everybody would do, I think.
Yeah, you know, this is why I insist a lot as a team instructor and being part of the MovNat HQ team. I insist a lot on the power of the community, of MovNat community, and not only about the method.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in the method and I love it, and that I think we live similar lives, you and me, because we came from the corporate and we were a bit burnout, we changed and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what can be very useful for many other people who are still in this cycle is to have a lot of inspirations, and we get a lot more and more inspirations from a lot of people on Instagram, Facebook, people posting their videos, and you know, having this community, a strong community like we have, is very good. You know, that's why we also did a survey a few months ago, asking people, you know, how did they discover MovNat and what MovNat did for them, and we got almost 3,000 answers with very good, texts from people saying, I was in this particular case, I was down, I found MovNat, and I think our job is, you and me, you know, you in Munich and me with the team, is to spread all those messages, you know, whether it's in a video format or it's in a text format, whatever format. We need to make sure that the people, you know, who discover MovNat, they know that there are hundreds and hundreds of people who already live this. And for me, that's a plug to the MCT forum that you created, because you actually created a platform for all the MovNat certified trainers that can exchange on many topics. And I'm part of this forum. I really like the structure of it. Tell us a bit about the history of this MCT forum and how does it go right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the idea. So we started with MovNat Munich, right? I work with Ben with Marburg, and we are doing trainings in parks, and we're doing online training, and we do retreats, and we have noticed that it's really hard to push through, right? To get in touch with the people, especially if you're doing it like on this. Okay, let's do it, MovNat Munich. We're gonna go for it, kind of thing. And we started to realize exactly what you were saying, that there's so many people there. Like once you start getting into this type of new ways of looking at movement, for example, people that are there, they just love it, and there's the potential of changing your life, the potential of reconnecting not only with your body but also with nature. I mean, if the way you are teaching your kids how to move, for example, once you have this knowledge, is something like that you totally change the perspective there. So we wanted to bring this out. We want people to know that there's alternatives to sitting in a gym, that there's alternatives that don't require a lot of material, that you can do it at home, and that they work and they make you feel great. And in that process, we also realized that we can't do it alone, right? So we need to push it as a group, kind of thing. So we started thinking, and we see so many MCTs, right? So we as MCTs, we're in the front lines, kind of thing, right? So we are there, we are pushing, we're doing the events, we're trying to spread the word, and there's a lot of knowledge in that journey. So we were thinking, like, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of things that we can maybe give to the MCTs, since we've already been in the market, so to say, for a couple of years, and we had some experiences with the different topics. So we can give this experience for them not to, make the same mistakes, like stuff like how did we had to grow our Instagram accounts, for example, or how do you do a meetup stuff, or what are good strategies to attract people to move, that kind of thing. So those kind of things were something that was important for us. But we were also looking for partners, for people that are on the same level, that are also pushing them. And if we get together, there's a lot more strength in our voice, right? So we had the idea of doing this forum. Like, I mean, the as a tool is something that's been there for years, right? And we have organized all these threads, and we went with you. The MovNat headquarters was really happy also to support the idea, and with this, feeling the what's the name, the cooperation of the MovNat headquarters, also like really motivate us to, okay, so let's go and let's try to get all these MCTs, all these people, amazing people from different backgrounds, different countries, with different stories, that have all had this similar journey, right? And let's make it happen, kind of thing, was the main motivation behind it.
Yeah, that's awesome. When was this launched?
We launched it around, I think, June, July this year. So it's pretty fresh, so to say. Um, we already have a lot of trainers that have been there. We are also organizing and planning to keep organizing monthly meetings with all the people that are MCTs. It's only also for MCT, so you also have to show your certification to be able to post actively in the forum. And I'm really loving the contact that we have with them. I mean, first of all, like you were saying, you get to know the people, right? You get to know the people behind the MCTs over your show, for example, or with the meetings that we had. You realize that there's a lot of people with a lot of good skills and a lot of good knowledge behind it. And I'm just really happy that we can help it out. Yeah.
So you mentioned a meeting, and I heard that this meeting is doing very well. Tell us when is it, and what do you have in this meeting?
Yeah, so we wanted to structure it like this. We wanted to, first of all, train together. So Bernd was giving was sharing some of his expertise with us. I mean, in the online format, there's so much things that we can actually do, but we concentrate a lot on the NDS, on ground movements, on building the skills on a foundation basis. But in the case of the MCTs and stuff, we just wanted to train together, right? As a Oh, sorry about that. Am I back? Sorry
Yes,
about that.
you are.
And so we wanted to have that part there. So there's around half an hour training, and then after that
Sorry,
we have,
you start with training, or you start with
yeah,
discussion?
we start with training. We do half an hour training, movement, ground transitions to get the blood pumping and to get the body moving, and then we go into a discussion. And we have, yeah, well, depending on the meeting, we have 2 meetings until now. It has been around 45 to 1 hour minute discussion.
What was
Uh,
the reaction?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it was the I think the movement part was nice. After the first in the first meeting, there were a lot of people that were saying that they the MDS is a very, I really like that part of MovNat as well. The rehabilitation potential, the connection with your body, all these feelings that you can awaken through that. And it's sometimes things that you think you may be able to do, but once you are there and you're moving around in squats, or you're trying to do mobility aspects of your body, and then you realize, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. So a lot of people were saying that okay, no, great. I mean, I didn't know that you could also go in that direction with MovNat. So there was this experience and this knowledge sharing there. And and then the discussion was awesome. The discussion was really great, because you're talking with people that have the same problems, that are trying to push the same thing, that share that passion for MovNat. And we were talking about like very productive stuff, like from branding ideas, or how could this be more highlighted, to how can we cooperate together, can we do events together, can we do some marketing efforts together, for example, that type of stuff. So it was really engaging.
That's great. I think the combination of the MCT forum and a meeting is very good. You know, this is what we could do during the lockdown, which was to think about how can we serve the community better. And that's the reason why I wanted to create this show that can be also discussed as a podcast, a way to really connect, to give some live trainings, on Instagram,
Yeah,
live combos.
yeah,
We have the free maps, the from Stefano that is in the newsletter every week. People receive a workout. So, and now the forum is, I think, a big step forward. Uh, can you tell us what is the link? What is the address people can go to connect to
yeah,
this forum?
yeah. So it's mctforum.com. You go in and you log in and you're able to see the information that is posted. But until you show us your certificate, you can't actively post something on the forum. And like you were saying, I think also it's a great way of being in touch with these people and getting access to this knowledge, right? To the difficulties or the good things that are behind trying to train people in MovNat, right? And I also love your combos and the live trainings and all these things. I mean, we also realized, and we were thinking about this also in the forum. We were talking about with you and Danny that it would be awesome if you can also join us in these meetings for a training, right? As an MCT, I would love to train with you. I mean, I was able to train with you in Vienna in level 3, and with Danny as well, and you guys are a bit further ahead in the journey of the whole movement aspect. And I was, for example, watching your sequences on how to get better with the ball pop-up where you stand on the bar. That's the name, right?
The pop vault.
And the pop balls, sorry, yeah. And they helped me so much because I was struggling with that one a bit, and I was looking there. So there's just so much experience there, and today in the world we live today, there's so many formats to exchange information, and the forum is just one of them, right?
Yeah, that's great. I would love to join those
Mm.
meetings. So let's do it. You said
Yes.
mctforum.com. Isn't it mctforumeurope.com?
Huh. You may be right. I would have to check. Sorry about that, but I think
Because
I can of course.
I tried mctforum.com. I even think that we need a http slash the
Yeah, I
www.
would say. I mean, I could try and get the name for you right now, or but I would have to go
Well,
outside
it's
to.
okay. I think we will. I'm pretty sure it's mctforumeurope.com.
Yeah,
And we will put
it could
the
be.
exact link in the description,
Yeah,
because we will save this episode on YouTube. So we'll
yeah,
be able to give the link, and we will share this video also on the Facebook MCT groups,
yeah,
Facebook MovNat groups. We will share it on the free groups. We have the MovNat certified trainers, we have the 60/60, and the alumni.
hmm,
So
yeah,
no worries. Let's check the address to make sure people can click and connect, because this is but again,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really for MCTs. You can consult, but if you want to post, you need to show your certificate. This
yeah,
is how we want to build the community this way. Great, Andres.
yeah, yeah.
Many good things. So what are the most popular topics discussed on this forum so far?
Yeah, well, we had a big discussion about how to do gyms at your own home, do it yourself gyms. What sort of materials do you use? What do you do there? Here, stuff, for example, like barefoot shoes. What type of barefoot shoes have you used? And then they start coming right with the list. I did that myself. I did the sandals and the Luna sandals here and the Vivos there. But like a lot of experience from the day-to-day movement lifestyle part, right? And there was also a lot of topics about marketing issues, like how do I do this, right? How can I grow my Instagram account? How is it important that I do this for the events? Where do I get an insurance that covers climbing trees? This type of things. So those were also very popular, and a lot of lifestyle stuff as well. So all people there have shown a lot of experience, not only with movement but also with other practices in terms of nutrition, in terms of sleep, in terms of meditation, different resources that are important, different gadgets also, like for example to measure the pulse, to follow like the aura ring, following the sleeping patterns and all these things. So it's a bit of everything. It's really all across the board.
That's what we need.
Mm.
Yesterday, Danny, we were talking about Danny. Danny posted a very good um text on Instagram talking about that MovNat is not only about movements, and that this is not the main reason he joined MovNat. The main reason was because he was seeking freedom and
Yeah, yeah, I read it.
different types of freedom. And I think just based on looking at where you are now, I can
Mm.
see that what you are looking for is freedom, because you are, in the fresh air, in the green. Danny, is remote in Vermont.
Yeah,
I love the green too. This morning I was in the woods lifting. So we all want this connection and this freedom, and that's why in your forum you get a lot of topics about not only doing a ground movement or doing a pop vault or pop up or something like this, which is great, but it's more about lifestyle and how can I live better, stress free, and limiting the all the constraints from life, especially this mental pressure we have with this pandemic. More and more people
yeah,
want home
especially right now.
home gyms. They want, they want to know how can they use their home to make themselves feel better. And all those topics can be easily discussed, with people who know this lifestyle, and they
Yeah,
won't get
yeah,
they won't get the same regular pushback, even from doctors or from people around, saying, "Come on, just watch TV and have a drink."
yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's always a relief to talk with someone that is already there, because you don't have to explain so many things, right? I mean, if you have to come there and explain why sleep plays such an important role, or why is intermittent fasting, or why is movement in a fitness gym not the same as movement outside in nature, then you can really grow, right? You can come into this discussion and add on value to really come to the next levels of this, right?
yeah, because it takes, in advance, well ahead, that it takes energy to convince people. So you're like, before I even get to enjoy this conversation, I know I will have to convince this person that this is good for me. Why,
Yeah,
whereas, when we talk to someone who know already, you feel at ease and you're like, you can jump directly in the topic you really like, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And also because there's a lot of questions as well. I think, I mean, or at least in my conclusion, the lifestyle aspects that I've come to love and apply today, they're not mainstream. They're not things that you learn in school, or you where you see it on TV or stuff like that. No, they're stuff that are on the outside of our comfort zone kind of thing, right? And once you start, because it's like you have to say somebody, like if you really want to get better and balance it out and be more healthy, you have to get out of your comfort zone. No, that's really a popular thing, but at the end what you're saying is, if you want to have a strong body, you have to give it a reason to be strong, and that means work, and that means sweating, and that means being outside and getting dirty, or maybe getting a cut in your hands, or you know exposing yourself to the elements. And that notion at the beginning can be very taunting, because you're like, all right, so you're basically saying that I have to go through hell to be able to be healthy. Well, but that's supposed to be, right? Whereas the other side, what we're used to, is like, take this pill and everything is going to be fine, right? And that's easy. That's something that I can learn. Okay, so I go and I put something and I do exercise for 15 minutes with some electrical stuff, and then I'm fine. So checked it. And that's not it, right? So you really have to dig a bit deeper. And because of that, other people that have already been in this journey for a long time, because that's also one thing that you notice, that people are there and there's a lot of stuff out there. It's not like we don't have any information on this. And then it just makes the trip, first, more enjoyable, and second, easier, right?
Yeah, that's why it's critical that we give a voice to our community, whether it's by this show, by Facebook, Instagram. I always tell people, tag me, tag MovNat. We'll share your stories,
Mm.
share your videos, your photos. We have Luis here connected. Luis from Portugal. He will actually be with me in Madrid in a few weeks for the certification.
Nice.
And is a great example also of living this lifestyle. And we have more and more people like this that we need to give a voice, give visibility, to inspire more people. And your forum and everything you're doing is a great tool for that. So thank you for that, Andres, and the team over there in Munich.
Thank you very much. I mean, we're very pleased. We are very motivated. We do this with a lot of heart, and we really like MovNat, and we really think it can change a lot of stuff in especially right now where we need so much change. And so happy to do it.
That's great. Andres, thank you. Any message, final message you want to tell us about anything you want to conclude this great discussion? We could go on and on, but we have this
Yeah.
1 hour format.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the conversation, Jerome. It felt great, even though we're not face to face. It had a lot of energy. Yeah, no, just keep at it. I mean, don't get winded. I think I always say this when I take people into the ice. It gets hard before it gets easy. So if you just have to show up and keep at it, and I'm sure that things are gonna go in a way where we can have this movement and this lifestyle a bit more broadcasted and a bit more accepted, and that people start realizing that there's a lot more other approaches that you can do instead of only that one that we're used to from the last, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years.
Open your mind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Andres, very much.
Okay,
It
Jerome.
was a pleasure. So this episode will be, like I said, on YouTube.
Hmm.
That will be, and what we want to do also with all those interviews is to take some clips, some specific
Mm,
topics, and we will keep feeding our YouTube channel with those clips with
nice.
different topics that can be interesting for people. Shorter formats like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It will all of this will be available in the archives of movnat.com and also on YouTube. So I wanted to just inform the
great.
people about that. We keep in touch anyway, Andres. We are in close contact,
Yep,
and it was a pleasure. Take care.
it was a pleasure, Jerome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.